Our wrists do so much for us. I'm so happy that my wrists are happy. And in another video, you might see some of the strengthening moves that we'll do for the wrist. But these are to open up the tension or to release the tension in the wrist. We want to, sometimes the wrist really holds a lot, especially if we do a lot with our hands or different computer work, or we have to keep our wrists in the same position. And so tension can build, and sometimes there can be an imbalance in the use of those 8 carpal bones here in the wrist. So this is just a quick little self-care to check out and hopefully help improve the glide and improve the range of motion in your wrists. So we're going to start with just a little bit of flexion and extension in the wrist. And just notice what you notice. You might check it out in both hands just to see the differences of working one versus the other. And then where in that range of motion is your wrist the happiest? And you might say, well, it's fine in both directions, no big deal. If that's the case, just pick a side. If it really feels like it goes further in one direction than the other, let's start on that side. So we're going to start in the happy place, and then we're going to push out of that. And in our push, we're going to use about 10% or less of our actual force. So it's a very small amount. And the reason that we're using a small amount is so that the brain can recognize what's happening at the wrist, and we're not overriding it with more muscular effort, which probably got us in this not happy wrist issue in the first place. So let's go into our favorite place in that range. Pick a side if you don't feel like there's any preference. And then hold, with your opposite hand, hold it there and see if you can push away. So you're pushing in the opposite direction. And again, a little bit lighter is better. You could hold it in the same place, or you could continue to move with it while adding resistance. Decide or check out what feels better in your body. And then after about 8 or 10 seconds, we're going to passively continue the movement in the direction you are pushing. And then simply recheck and notice what you notice about any changes that might take place. If you don't feel any change at all, maybe you try it one more time and notice if you feel any changes the second time. But try not to do it more than twice in any one setting. After the flexion extension, we're going to try this lateral movement of the wrist. So in keeping those lower arm bones the same, I'm just trying to waggle my hand side to side and notice where in there is the happiest place. So I today kind of like it over on this side. I'm going to keep my hand there, and I'm going to try to push away out of that position. Using 10% or less, I think I could even do a little less. I tend to get a little too excited sometimes. And then count to 8 or 10 or 12, and then passively move that wrist in the direction you are going. Release, check out if there's any more movement that may want to happen. And then after that integrates for a second, just recheck and notice if your range maybe got bigger or if there's more glide in that movement. And then you can play with any kind of movement that the wrist does and check out an isometric from there. So maybe there's a little bit of rotation there, a little bit of flexion, lateral bending that you can combine to say, oh, when I put my wrist in this position, it feels really lovely. That's the position we're going to start in. And then you get to decide which dimension or direction, how you want to push out of it. So I'm going to keep my hand here, and I'm going to push in this direction to come out. Same idea, 10% of your force or less, about 10 seconds or so. Maybe you go to the halfway mark so you have room to passively move through. And then recheck that movement of your wrist. The isometrics and isotonics are great for rebalancing the muscle effort in the joint. So it really helps to create more efficiency of the movement in the joint so that one side is not overworking and one side underworking all the time. So, see, did we do anything? I always like to know. Check out your other side and feel if there's any difference in that side. And then hopefully you can go check out the same thing on the other side and play and explore with isometrics on the opposite side. Here's to happy wrists. Enjoy.